And it's my great pleasure to have Triin Linamagi, who you may know, some of you, but Triin has been a wonderful woman leading the charge in the UK, but also she is herself from Estonia and has built a wonderful grouping called Sie Ventures. I should also add that Triin was actually awarded the UKBAA Angel Group of the Year, and we really want to congratulate Triin for that, and a testament to the great work she's been doing in building great amounts of money going into women founders and really pulling together some really great women. So Triin, it's going to be over to you to moderate this panel, and you'll be joined by some really wonderful women. So I'll leave you to introduce them, and if we can pull up the cameras of our other women. Here we go. So there we go. So Triin, over to you.
Great. Hi everyone. Really nice to meet you all, and thank you to all our panelists today. Thank you, Jenny, for having us here. Really excited to kick off this discussion. A little bit about me. I am the founder and CEO of Sie Ventures. We invest in women-led businesses only across UK and Europe in pre-seed and seed stage. We have a network of 150 angel investors and family offices that we co-invest with. And interestingly, my background was actually in venture capital and company building. So I'm actually coming from venture into angel investing and into angel syndicates. And I'd love every panelist here to introduce themselves as well, their respective funds, their syndicates, and perhaps a little bit about their background, how they ended up in angel investing or building a syndicate, because many of you come from venture to angel investing. Many of you start angel investing and go into ventures. So yeah, would love to give a floor to our panelists, and perhaps we can start with Florence.
Hello, Jenny. Hello, Triin. Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for having us on this panel. So I'm Florence Richardson. I have two hats, I would say. I have been the president of Femmes Business Angels, which is a female investor network in France. And I've been the president until 2023. And I'm also the co-founder of Win Equity. And Win Equity is an investment company, a microfund as we call, dedicated to female entrepreneurs, and we launched it in 2022. Maybe a few words about me. I began my career in the financial sector quite many years ago. I stayed there for about 14 years, and then I co-founded my own company. And the last 15 years of my career have been dedicated to investment in startups and innovation. And I joined the Femmes Business Angel Network in 2009. I invested in more than, I would say, 40 startups. I'm on the board of several of them, and I co-founded this fund, Win Equity, 2 years ago.
Thank you so much, Florence. And shall we move on to Deepali?
Sure. Thank you, Triin. Thank you, Jenny, for having me today. I started my career actually many moons ago in investment banking. Most people don't realize that I've invested for most of my life of 20 years plus, just because I think people see me more as an angel more recently, and kind of don't realize how long I've been doing this. And I think I've been doing this before, there was tech, but really pure financial services investing is what I did for many years. More recently, I started Alma Angels about right before COVID, actually, born out of my own needs, because I never felt I found enough female angels on cap tables, and was sitting with Ella, who was the original co-founder with me at Alma, and said to her, there are not enough women. I keep seeing the same women. We're not seeing, enough deal flow. What should we do about it? And she goes, let's start something. And that's how Alma Angels was born. Alma Angels is a community of angels that came together to really invest into female founders. We're about 300 strong. I have three other co-founders, Ella, Roxanne, and David. And we've been writing checks since 2020. And separately outside of that, I'm more recently a partner at SpeedInvest for the last 4 years, leading gender lens amongst many other hats, gender lens investing at the firm and also a micro GP practice, and now more recently emerging market practice. So wear multiple hats here, but yes, women have been very close to my heart, and I've been investing in them personally and professionally for the last 10 years.
Thanks so much, Deepali. And Lurdes?
Yeah, I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you for the invitation. And well, I'm Lurdes Gramaxo. I'm Portuguese, and I'm a partner of Convened Venture Capital, which is managing funds investing in early stage startups in Iberia. Or, okay, it has to be a strong connection with this geography. Well, my background, I have an experience of more than 20 years in a multinational group on leading roles. That was exit in 2012. And after which I decided to embrace this sector of the early stage tech entrepreneurship that was starting on Portugal by that time. First as a business angels, but in 2015 we decided to further professionalize into a regulated fund managers. So we are now on our third fund, and which is under Article 8 of the EU regulation, which means that it promotes ESG characteristics. So for us, at least 40% of the startup invested must be involved in solutions that reduces the impact on climate changes and promotes diversity. Well, we consider ourselves as diversity at heart, but in a more broader sense, not only gender related, but also important also gender related, but also on the background experience. We have very mixed background experience. Also in generations, we are since baby boomers till generation Z and X and whatever, and okay, and so on. So, and since 2021, I'm also president of Investors Portugal, which is the Portuguese Early Stage Investors Association that represents the interests of the business angels and venture funds that target this space. Our focus is knowledge sharing, capacity building initiatives, and public policies discussions in cooperation with all the major stakes of the ecosystem. At Investors Portugal, we are targeting gender diversity, trying to attract more women to become founders of investors, also by providing capacity building experience and community building on women to women. So I think that I keep it for now, and we will talk later on more.
Thank you so much, Lurdes. And last but not least, Mary McKenna.
Hello, Triin. Hello, everybody. Lovely to be here. Thank you for including me. So yeah, lots of crossovers with what all of the rest of you have said as well. So personally, I'm an exited tech founder myself. So really resonated with the stuff that Kinga was saying earlier about how important that is as well to take care of the founders, I suppose. And I am part of the Awaken group here in Ireland. And probably much newer to the syndicate and investment world than the rest of you are, because you've all got a good few years start on us. But we are Ireland's first and only women-led angel syndicate. We've only been going for 10 months, but prior to that, we had started 4 years ago. We'd started a women founder community here in Ireland, which had grown to about 3,000 women founders, part of a social enterprise, and it became very apparent when we got to know the founders better that they had hardly any women on their cap tables at all, and that they found it so much more difficult to raise investment than their male counterparts did. So I guess our mission is very clear, and it's twofold. It's to bring more women into angel investment in Ireland, because we are well behind most of the other parts of Europe. The number of women that are angel investors is probably 1% of the angel community. And the second part of it is to try to bring more capital, but particularly more women's capital onto the cap table of women that are founding businesses. And so far, I suppose I mentioned that we've been going for about 10 months. We have brought about 75 new angels into our syndicate in that time, which we are honestly quite pleased with. About 65 of those are women, and many of them are first-time investors. So we are layering onto our service, I suppose, a whole education suite, so that women can feel a lot more comfortable than they would if they just joined any old syndicate, you know. And I guess that in terms of the founders that we're investing in, we're investing only in women-led companies that are based on the island of Ireland. We're sector agnostic. They just have to be able to show that they are an investable business and that they have some level of market validation, and that they are either a woman founder or a woman co-founder who owns a significant proportion of the enterprise. And we invest at pre-seed and seed stage. We've made our first 2 investments last month alongside some other syndicates, and we have 4 more deals that are in due diligence, which will close over the summer. So really pleased to be here and to learn from the rest of you that are far more experienced than I am. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And I'd actually love to jump right in. So Florence and Mary, you both decided to set up an all-female angel group. And I'd like to just get a bit of a better understanding from you. What are the benefits of having only women angel investors in the group? And have you actually measured what's been the impact on your pipeline, the decision-making, and also the outcomes of the deals themselves, if you have any comparisons that you can already bring? Whoever wants to go first.
Florence, would you like to go first?
Oh, Florence, you're on mute. Yeah, you're still on mute, I think.
Yeah, sorry, it's working now. Yeah, maybe just a few words on my network, Femmes Business Angel. So it was launched in 2003, so that's 20 years ago, quite a long time ago. It's an only female business angel network, and the idea is that when it was launched in 2003, there was pretty much 90% of angels were men. And the goal of that network was to attract women in that field of attract women towards business angel investing, and making them understand that they can do it, because it was something that women felt like it was not at all for them 20 years ago, and still is somehow the case. So the first goal of that only female network is to make female feel more welcome and in an environment they feel comfortable in. Whereas if you are one of the very few women in other networks, maybe you don't feel very comfortable. And that was my case. When I joined, I saw different networks, very male-oriented, and I felt like I didn't feel very comfortable in a situation where I didn't know the matter. I didn't know what it was to angel invest, and I felt very comfortable joining that network in 2009. So that's the first goal. Since 2003, we developed quite a lot. We have about 170 active angel investors, but 1,500 globally women, female investing investors having invested over the last 20 years. And we invest in about 20 companies every year. And what's interesting is our investment thesis is male or female or mixed team. We don't have that focus on only women entrepreneurs. But what we actually see is that more than 50% of our deals of our funds go to female or mixed teams, which shows that one of the interests of having a female investors network is that it does promote female entrepreneurship, even though that's not one of our goals. Our goal is to attract female investors. So basically, what does it impact? First of all, having more women and going in that very exciting business angel adventure, attract more women, make them understand they can do it, train them, and make them feel more comfortable towards an activity that they don't think about, that they don't know, and they don't think they're capable of doing. That's the first goal. The second goal is for startups is actually give the startups, whether female or not founded, the added value of bringing more women to the table, to the equity table, to the governance. And we have a lot of actually male entrepreneurs who come to us because that's what they are looking for. They also want more mixity. They don't have it in their teams because that's the way it started, but they want it in their governance, in their cap table. Another for women entrepreneurs now, very more specifically, obviously we help them raise more money. Our figures show it, that a lot of women entrepreneurs, and I'm not talking about just projects that are very female oriented, but all kinds of women entrepreneurs, whether they're very tech or not, they have the propensity to find more funds with more diversity in their investors is demonstrated. And globally for the economy, we believe that having more women in the field of investment and taking risk, and this risk-taking activity is very beneficial to the economy in general. So that's what we've seen, and we've done studies showing the impact of female investing in this diversity. And also and the last thing I would add is that we have done a white paper last year on how female investing actually promotes more impact investing, because what we see is a lot of our female investors are very much interested in giving sense to their investment and impact investing. And a large part of our investments, even though that's not a thesis, are actually companies that are driven by the impact they bring to the economy and the society.
Mary, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'll
controversial
be much
question.
briefer.
Yeah,
than,
and let you add to that. But on top of it, I would love to put that commercial question out there for you as well, Mary. If you think there are any downsides of having only women in the angel networks, but maybe you'll add to that, Peter.
So we're not women only, we're women led. We've got very much a focus on really concentrating on bringing women into angel investment, but we don't want to exclude men. And so, I mean, I think when we were thinking about a syndicate, we looked at the research that had been done, and we read a couple of pieces of information that really rang home to us from the Boston Consulting Group. One was that 58% of women who don't invest feel that they don't have enough money to get started. So that whole illusion about how you've got to be a millionaire or high net worth in order to invest. And when we read that, we decided that we would make our ticket price very low and make it accessible so that women founders could also begin to invest. So our ticket price is €2,000, £2,000, $2,000. And that's a whole different story about how that's played out, but that's the ticket price. And then the other piece of information was that 65% of women versus 53% of men find investment information hard to understand. And I think when you take those two pieces of information and the fact that we were trying to build something from the ground up where there wasn't already anything there, so many of the people that have come to our syndicate are first-time investors, they're brand new to angel investment. I think women need something different, and I also believe that women make decisions differently from men. I'm generalizing here, but I think it is part of the, women really do go on like a data-driven approach to how they make their decisions. They don't do gut feel. You never hear of a woman leaving her job on a Friday and with nothing to go to on a Monday. It just, it would really rarely happen, whereas men just seem to do that all the time. And then I also think a lot about the fact that there's an intergenerational movement in wealth ownership, and over the next 2 generations, women are going to inherit something like $20 trillion And those women have got, wealth isn't really an end in itself for women, I don't believe. Often women invest for different reasons than men, and often there's many means to an end for a woman. So maybe they're trying to make some money for their own retirement, maybe they want to leave legacy for their children, but often they want to make a difference in their community, or as Florence has just said, we find that the women who want to invest with our syndicate are far more interested in ESG and impact investment than perhaps more traditional angel syndicates are. And we think they benefit. I always say that angel investment is a team sport. They really benefit from knowing other women that are at the same stage as they are, so that they can chat with each other and make decisions about what they're going to do. A woman said to me yesterday that she had worked really hard to bring women onto her cap table early doors. And she told me this in hushed tones, and both of us were very shocked. But she said that she's found that the men on her cap table give a lot more time to her business than the women do. She said the women are always busy, and when she contacts them or tries to show them a demo of her product and whatever, they're so busy they don't have any time. And I think that's a real shame, and I think it's something that we have to think about. Also, I said to you, we've only done 2 deals so far, and we've got 4 more in the pipeline. The deal leads so far have all been men. So that's something else that we need to fix, is we need to work out how to get those women that are newly into our syndicate to step forward and to be more confident. But I'm hoping and praying that will happen in time.
And talking a little bit about what has actually worked well, and what can others learn from. Deepali, you obviously did a lot of work on angel investing with Alma Angels and also individually, but then you moved into a fund. Do you have any practices to share what worked really well that others can implement, perhaps in their funds or in their angel networks? Maybe you have some learnings to share.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'll come to both of them. Maybe start with my role currently at SpeedInvest, where we have a public pledge of investing 30% of our portfolio into, female founders mixed teams with at least one female founder in there. As you know, Triin, 30% is a really high number for a fund size, which is 350 million. It's not a small fund, right? So it's interesting because I think the European stat is, or the numbers that I've seen, 2% all female teams, 9% mixed teams, and we're currently at I think we made 60-70 investments already from the fund, and we are currently at 35% ratio, which is super if you think about the number of female founders or mixed teams that we have managed to back. I think as a firm we are, obviously the CEO leads from the top. I think it's a cultural thing. I don't think you can have such a big influence unless culturally you're trying to make that change within an organization. I think the few funds before SpeedInvest 4 were obviously much lower in terms of numbers. I think being a woman, I think it's much easier to do some of the things that I'm going to talk about. But being a very open individual, open investor, open brand is something we pride ourselves in at SpeedInvest. Obviously, we get lots of cold emails from people. Women don't tend to not have warm intros, and many VCs would probably not take those meetings, which we probably do take. And if we can't take a meeting for whatever reason, feedback, significantly with why it is not relevant for us, right? That's the smallest. That's the least you can do, in my view. And I think we do that quite well. We have a type form on the website, which we debated very heavily about a year and a half ago at one of the partner meetings, because we were getting a lot of noise inbound through the website. And we were like, what do we do with all these deals? Because nobody's reading our investment theses and applying to us. And to be honest, we made changes to the website, to the type form, but we decided to keep it because we wanted to be that open brand that is open to everybody. So obviously that, we have done a lot of capacity building. We as a fund have run and led and run accelerators, whether it's with SoftBank or Cherry or First Minute, or more recently with Albion. There are not enough women, we feel, building in SaaS, and it's something that we wanted to fix at the top of the funnel. So you know, it takes a lot of time to build and run an accelerator. Triin, you might know this, and you know, to do one as a large fund every year is something, you know, it's a significant commitment that we've made, and outside of all the office hours that we do and all the time we spend just meeting women who we are never going to invest in, right? So a lot of capacity building that goes on. Separately, we launched the micro GP program, which is to invest small checks into first-time managers with the view we got special permission from our LPs in order to do this. While it's not large checks, it's 50% of that went into female GPs. We've done 18 investments to date, and we bring them together every year. And in fact, I'm just in the throes of planning this year's summit, where I'm hopefully inviting a lot more LPs, and also we spend time on curriculum and how do we, because we want to create the flywheel effect. More female GPs leads to more female founders being funded, right? Just from a data and reporting standpoint and our own internal team standpoint, I would like to say that we get all the partners get a monthly report by sector as to how many women are coming through the pipeline and moving through the pipeline from long list to short list to, you know, due diligence to IC. So we can be, because we see there's a clear trend and a correlation between the number of women applying and the number of women actually getting funded. So if we want a 30% target, we need to make sure that our pipeline has at least 30% women coming in. And that's how we measure this very granularly every single month. And then obviously make changes and doing more outbound or being out there more to make sure we're meeting enough women. And separately, you know, we have a lot of women. There was our fund always had the first female GP, but now we have several female partners, women on IC and women leading teams, which has obviously had an impact on, you know, on female founders and the deals that we're investing. So I know and I can go on about this because this is a topic I deal with every single day. But yeah, lots of best practices there that we have personally learned from and evolved and, you know, still need to do better at.
Thank you so much, Deepali. And Lurdes, I'd love to hear from you. What's your experience been? Considering you're also based in Portugal, I'd like to also understand if there have been any government support or any sort of incentives to get more women to start investing, or for you to start investing in more women-led businesses. And you know, what has been working well? Are you co-investing a lot, or what's worked on your end?
Well, if you're talking about support from the public policies for that, there is nothing in Portugal at the moment. We have a new government that is more active on that, and I hope that it will come to life one of these days. But for the moment, there's nothing to support women on this ecosystem. But nevertheless, we have in Portugal a very pro-equal rights in terms of rules, law, and regulation. This has helped, nevertheless, because I think that in spite of everything that you can say, I think that some kind of positive discrimination helps a lot. And this is also building the experience of working in more mixed teams, more diverse teams. And this has helped because we see more and more founders, female founders in the ecosystem. And then we also see much more women coming on as investors on this world. Nevertheless, at the Portuguese association that I'm leading, we have tried to build to have special projects really focused on attracting women as investors, as founders. We started with a more focus on the finance literacy, because sometimes, as Maria was saying, women don't know so much the language of this ecosystem. So we have to clarify this is nothing different from other much more probably difficult fields they work on in terms of financing activities and in other fields in other type of companies, or in other type of investments they do every day. So this is an asset class that, of course, has its risks, but it's a good mix to add to other asset classes that you usually invest. And also, we have tried also to build community feel for women, that they can join, they can debate, they can see others' experience as role models for them, to also to try to go more in this investment activities that we want them to be. But nevertheless, I think that it's lacking a lot. We saw the first panel was very interesting because it really tackles data. We don't have data, very few data. Also in this early stage ecosystem, but also much more if we talk about women, the role of women, how women are represented, what can we do better. And this is a basis for good public policies also. And really, I think that we have to strive to have much more data on the what is being done on this ecosystem. And another thing that is very important, that we have always an active attitude, let's call it, to avoid gender bias. And gender bias is something that starts at home even. So it's really to tackle education, to be sure that we can give the opportunities to young women to become much more on the STEM education, because this is lacking. And we really have to also to push on this, because the future is much more on this. The future jobs are probably much more male at the moment than female. So we really have to prepare the world. If not, there will be a lot of women that will be having the less paid jobs in the future.
Absolutely, and actually on that point, Lurdes, I think it's really important to mention the education that also Mary referred to before. I think one way is we can get more women into investing with education, right? So I wonder if any of you have examples of great educational programs that allow women to get into investing and learn. And is the syndicate actually a great approach for women to start learning collectively, share knowledge, test out where they want to invest in, what they're passionate about? Are there any good examples out there, if any of you have run educational programs or tested it out?
I mean, I can jump in here. Obviously, when Alma first started, right, we started with the educational side of things, because we did think that was missing. That was the missing piece. There were many syndicates out there. There was a bit of deal sharing, but there was really very little in the form of education. And interestingly, COVID happened, and that became really easy to do suddenly because people were all at home, and there was this movement towards online, which kind of catapulted, online education being easily accessible and more people willing to do it and getting together. And there's and in terms of education, there's obviously learning by doing, right? You're learning actually by spending time with people when you're looking at a deal, just like you would do at a fund. You're learning from your colleagues, you're learning from people who are more experienced than you. And so that bit happened very naturally because we started sharing deals and people wanted to learn about different sectors and jump on calls and do due diligence together. And that was super. And I don't think there is any replacement to learning by doing. But of course, there is a educational content side of things where you're just learning about the principles of investing and how to look at different, what are the basic deal terms and what is the legal language and what is evaluation. And, of course, we do that as well at Alma through, I would say, maybe we started using more external speakers to do that, and that's how we put the content together. I don't think it was anything formal other than that, but I think it worked really well. But I do think the most fun bit is actually when you're looking at a deal together, and you really learn by doing rather than just learning the principles.
And Mary referred before on about check sizes. I know Florence and Mary, do you have any experience in talking maybe what the expectation should be for women in terms of the check sizes? Should they be lower as maybe average on the market?
Should I just jump in quickly here? So, I mean, our ticket size is upwards of €2,000, pounds, dollars. And what we have found so far is that, okay, that's the minimum, but women are putting in a lot more than that. Like, so I think the average so far for the new investors has been about €8,000 is what they've invested in those first couple of deals. And we think that they'll do maybe 4 or 5 of those a year. So it starts to, I think that they're just building up their confidence. I don't know, I'm looking at the rest of you because you probably know this stuff, whereas we're just learning it. But I think that they're building their confidence. They don't want to invest all of their capital into the first 2 deals that they're going to make. They want to spread it around a little bit. And and on the education side, we developed our own program with a little bit of money from the government, and our new angels do a 9-month program where they do 1 hour a month. We thought we were going to do online learning for this, but everyone has really enjoyed being together in the cohort for the 9 modules, and then they have started investing in that little group as well. So we're just going to continue delivering it. It's a bit of a pain in the backside for our Director of Investor Relations, but it's also a good way for her to really get to know the women that she is onboarding. And so we'll continue doing that. And we've had a lot of men contact us that would like to do the training. So, you know, perhaps we will open it up to them, but not yet. Florence?
Yeah. On the education, that was one of the key things that we started 20 years ago is education training program, and it was set up very quickly with a 2 days, either 6 evenings or 2 days training period. And we realized that it was pretty much necessary to actually have the women start to invest. They really wait until they do it, and then they start looking at deals, but they don't jump into it directly, or most of them don't jump. They really want to do this training period. And it was a very important session for all of us. And it also creates a little cohort, and they know each other, and they can look at deal together. And that's really something very positive. So I think we really think the training is very important. And then I agree with you, learning by doing is obviously key afterwards, because some of them know, some of them know less, and they need to be reassured that that's the best way to do it. In terms of syndication, I mean, this is one of the reasons, but not the only one. We did this fund, Win Equity, is actually to also help women that cannot invest many tickets, and actually to invest in one fund in order to have the opportunity to diversify their portfolio, but also by doing that, feeling more comfortable in the process of learning, and because they actually don't take the responsibility of the investment themselves, but they follow. I mean, they are in the fund. So that's also another way to attract women and make them feel more comfortable by investing in a vehicle like that, and also diversify their portfolio. And in terms of tickets, we actually have tickets that are a bit higher. Our medium ticket is 12 or 13,000 euros, and we're trying to lower it a bit through SPVs, but usually when it's indirect, it's more between 10 and 15,000 euros.
And considering we're just about to run out of the time, I would love to kind of ask you all one question, considering that we will be hearing more from taking the leadership in the less developed countries and how to angel invest. And what advice would you give to everyone here today to increase the diversity in their own portfolio, or to start building out an angel syndicate, or to get more women to angel invest, or just back more women founders? Because one thing is getting more women to angel invest, and the other is to get more women founders in your portfolio. So maybe a few last words of wisdom from each one of you before we wrap up.
Well, I can start. I think the most important is that we give awareness to the good experience, to the success, even sometimes even less success experience that we can show women as leading startups, leading funds, being involved. I think that role models are very important to develop, to attract more women to the sector. I see this in my experience. Well, I'm not so experienced, but nevertheless, I've been in this field for more than 10 years now. And I see that we see more and more women coming, more and more women investing, more and more women as founders and leaders. And you see that more and more men see that diverse teams give better results. So this is important, to give awareness to the good practices, to the success cases, and this helps, because this cannot be changed from one day to the other, for sure, even if the laws and the regulations are pushing for more equality in Europe, let's say. But really, what makes the change is cultural change, and it's the good experience make an advantage for the future, to share good experience.
Thank you so much, Lurdes. And Mary, Deepali.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in and say, to be honest, I think we just need to do it, right? I mean, I think when I first started investing in women, everybody, including my husband, this was like 8 or 9 years ago. And Triin, you know some of the story, because I met you many years ago now. I think there were very few women. It was me and Czech and a few others who were like, oh, let's invest in women. My husband was like, who are these women that you're investing in that are building these large scalable companies? And it was almost like you were a laughing stock, right? But I think you just need to just do it. And to be honest, it is a lot of fun. It's intellectually stimulating. It's great to invest together, learn together. And there's nothing that I haven't done, from fighting about it to lobbying for it, whether, most recently part of the task force, lobbying, even when you can't get there in terms of having more SCIs for women-led businesses or whatever, but never hurts to ask, because the most you'll get is turned down. But I think you just have to do it. I have a friend who loved what I did here. She moved to Dubai a few years ago and is doing started the same thing in Dubai, because she really liked what I was doing here. So I think you just have to get on and do it.
Triin, I have a tip for everybody. I can tell you what we've really focused on, because obviously, being Irish, we have a huge diaspora, many in the United States, but also a lot of the regions that are less developed in Europe for angel investing will be in the same position, where they have huge diaspora populations. We've really focused on bringing in high net worths we've started with the eastern seaboard of the US, so New York, Boston, Philadelphia, and a lot of people from our diaspora are really interested in getting involved in investing, but also in helping companies from the country which they originated from. So that would be one of my top tips.
Florence?
Yeah, I think there's as many profiles of investors as there are women. And today we probably have means with different tools, platforms, different vehicles to actually meet and answers all these profiles. So that's something that should really help us to diversify the profile of women investors and answer to all of their how they want to invest. But mainly, my main advice would be diversify, because it's a risk-taking activity, and women should feel more comfortable with taking risks. I think that's a very important barrier to actually overcome. And knowing that, as you said earlier, it's fun, it's interesting, it's opening, it's mind-opening, and so you should see the fun part and the interesting part, and be more comfortable with the risk part of it.
I have one tip for all of you. Since we only had about 30-40 minutes here, I would really encourage you all to reach out to all of us here who have started their journey, angel investing, diversifying their investments in funds, building out angel syndicates, running educational programs, reach out to all of us, and I'm sure we're all happy to take a little bit of time to help you to get started in your own market. And you know, we can only make a change if we come together and help each other. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We've run a bit over. Sorry, Jenny, about that, but we are really thankful for the time you had with you, and thanks for all of our panelists as well.